Hello, Covenant Baptist Church. Well, we've made it to the fourth book of the Pentateuch, and you may be wondering why I'm saying that when you can see this beautiful artwork in the background here. This is the artwork you didn't get a chance to see in last video because our art department's a little bit behind time, but they did a great job. And if you come out to the studies, shortly we'll be starting the book of Leviticus in our regular community group studies. We're just a little bit behind. So today we are, of course, in our readings, we are reaching the book of Numbers. And again, our art department has a heavy load, and so you have to put up with my scratches here, my little attempts here at a few little artistic features for the book of Numbers. And this is again another somewhat overlooked book in the Old Testament, and certainly I think a number of people come across it, and it starts out with a census, and you think, okay, is this what we're going to have, another genealogy? And of course, genealogies, as you know, are wonderful things, especially if you look at the genealogy of Jesus Christ in the New Testament. But it can be difficult if you don't have any sort of connections or understanding as to what was going on. Now, the book of Numbers is called Numbers in English, and predominantly it was called that because it has two censuses located into it. First census is found in chapter 1, and then the second census comes actually later on. I forgot to put it in here, but it's in chapter 26 down here. But if you look at the actual Hebrew name for the book of Numbers, it, I think, conveys more of what the book of Numbers is about. The Hebrew name of Numbers is Bamidbar, and it means in the desert, or in the wanderings, or in the wilderness of Sinai, as it sometimes is referred to. And that's what the book of Numbers actually details, is really 38 years of wanderings, ultimately 40 total, where Israel is wandering in the desert. And even though the distance that they covered was only about 400 kilometers, it took them 40 years. And in Deuteronomy, it says that even that their sandals didn't wear out in this period of time. But the outline is here. Chapters 1 to 10, God prepares his people. So that's preparing them for entering into the promised land. We have the census. The first census is to determine their war readiness to go in and to do the conquest. But the sad reality is that the people don't trust God, and that's reflected in the middle narrative in chapters 11 to 16. But the amazing thing, one of the things I think is so encouraging about this book, is it just shows God's continual care of Israel in this. It ends with God, but God preserves his people. But God preserves his people. And I think that's just a wonderful, summary of who God is in terms of that. Now, as we said, there are two censuses that are there, but there are also some really neat connections to Jesus Christ and sort of his work as well. And of course, the most famous is the snake here in Exodus, where some of you may recall there's an incident where Israel sins, and God sends judgment on them by sending venomous snakes. And these venomous snakes come and bite the Israelites, and it's a judgment upon them. But God, in his amazing grace, also provides a means of grace for them in this, and that if they are, he has Moses build a bronze snake and lift it up before them, and if they look at this, they will live. So if they look at the snake, they will live. And some of you, I mean, my graphic art here isn't all that great, but this is actually the same sort of imagery that you find on the Canadian Medical Association's logo. There's often a snake or a snake on a stick. And you see that in a lot of medical emblems. And again, it's a picture of Christ, the healer. It's a wonderful depiction of God's mercy and grace. And yet, at the same time, it's a reminder, too, that God is someone that we must take seriously, that we can't ignore, and that we ignore at our peril. But it's not just the only reference to Christ in the book. There's actually a number of them. Of course, Christ himself compares himself to this bronze snake later on in John 3:14, when he says, "As Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, so must the Son of Man be lifted up." There's also the incident that happens in Numbers 20, where Moses strikes the rock and it pours forth the water, the life-giving water to the desperately thirsty Israelites. And again, it's a reference to Christ, as Paul says in 1 Corinthians 10:4, "For they drank from the spiritual rock that followed them, and the rock was Christ." So there's wonderful things that we see just speaking as we look at these events. They expand our understanding of the New Testament. Even the manna that's given there in the wilderness to sustain Israel is something which Christ describes of himself in the Gospel of John, when he says that he is the bread of life. And so my hope is that as you read through this book and as you see God's preparation, Israel's unbelief, but God's perseverance, you'll be encouraged in your own walk as you think and apply these things to yourself. I think one of the most famous passages in the whole book is the priestly blessing in Numbers 6:24-26. And it's beautiful. You've heard it perhaps many times. "The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face," or his countenance, "towards you and give you peace." And the really amazing and beautiful thing about that is that the shalom peace that ultimately God gave was fulfilled in Jesus Christ, because he is our peace.